A long, long time ago, when horses were horses, and cows were cows, and dogs were dogs, and cats were cats, and mice were mice, and itty-bitties were itty-bitties, there was once and only once.
Well. Before anybody starts crying over baby pictures or arguing about who the favorite is, allow me to introduce myself. My name is George. Now, if you've been to an Ashby family gathering any time in the last 20 years, there's a pretty good chance you've seen me before. Birthday parties, holidays, reunions, weddings, backyard barbecues. I've been there. Sometimes dancing, sometimes causing trouble, and occasionally making people wonder, wait, who's actually in the gorilla seat this time? Truth is, even I don't always know, but that's not important. What is important is that today we're here to celebrate a very special occasion. Roy turned 80 years old. 80 years. That's 8 decades of adventures, stories, hard work, laughter, family memories, and enough life experience to fill far more than one movie. Now, Roy would probably be the first person to tell you not to make a big fuss about him, but fortunately for all of us, nobody asked him. So over the next little while, I'm going to be your guide as we travel through the remarkable life of a husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, friend, storyteller, and all-around legend. We'll revisit the places he's been, the people he's loved, the memories he's created, and maybe even uncover a few stories he hoped everyone had forgotten. No promises. So sit back, relax, and get ready to celebrate 80 incredible years of Roy. I'm George, and this is Roy's story. Every great story has to start somewhere, and Roy's starts right here. Just the little guy. Pretty cute, huh? Roy was born to Arla and Leroy Ashby and was the youngest of 7 children. Arla was having her baby at home and didn't even know she was carrying twins. First, Roy's twin sister Ruth was born. The doctor delivered the baby, figured his work was done, and left. Can you imagine being that doctor when he found out there was another baby on the way? Because not long after, Roy made his surprise appearance. That's right, Roy entered the world as an unexpected bonus baby. He grew up in Del Flower, California, surrounded by his big family. But for now, let's take one more look at this adorable baby picture, because this little guy is about to take us on quite a journey. Let's see what Roy was like growing up. The Ashby family didn't have a lot by Xnay standards, but more importantly, they worked hard, they loved their family, and they taught their children values that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. Roy often wrote about his parents. He admired his father's work ethic and ability to build or fix just about anything. If something was broken, Leroy figured out how to make it work again. And Arla was the heart of the home. She taught her children the gospel, encouraging them and making sure they knew they were loved. Roy's childhood in Bellflower was exactly what you'd expect from a kid growing up in the 1940s and 50s. Lots of adventure and very little supervision. Take one trip to the beach, for example. Young Roy was having a great time jumping off a dock when he landed on a rusty nail. With the nail sticking out of his foot, he had to hobble all the way back to the family car. If that wasn't bad enough, his dad treated the little lift Mercuro, whatever that is, a memory Roy says hurt almost as much as the nail itself. And speaking of questionable decisions, one day Roy thought to ride home from the beach in the trunk of his family car with his brother and a friend. Today, that would probably result in a few concerned phone calls, but back then, it was just another family outing. But childhood wasn't all adventures and injuries. Roy was also a proud Boy Scout, where he learned skills, responsibility, and the value of hard work, lessons that stayed with him throughout his life. Of course, knowing Roy, he probably learned a few ways to have fun that weren't in the Scout handbook too. Now let me tell you a few things about Roy in high school, because apparently he thought life was more exciting if there was a ticket involved. Once, after seminary, Roy packed 8 or 9 kids into his dad's giant Hudson and raced another car on the way to school, weeding through traffic trying to stay ahead, and then, right in blue lights in the mirror, he got pulled over for reckless driving. The judge suspended his license for 90 days. Suddenly, the coolest kid at school had to get rides from his sisters everywhere he went. Then there was Roy's first car, a dark green 1955 Chevy with loud exhaust pipes that made it sound like a race car, even though it definitely was not a race car. He loved that thing. He spent all his grocery store paycheck money fixing it up and driving it on dates. And speaking of dates, one time Roy took some friends to the beach with a girl named Barbara. They stayed too long watching the sunset and got home after dark. Every parent was upset when the kids got home late, even though the friends had told Roy it would be okay. He got in trouble for getting home late, but ultimately his dad shared that he trusted him to do the right thing. And one more thing about him as a teenager. Like most teenagers, Roy occasionally told what he called little white lies. Nothing big, just the kind of things teenagers think their parents will never notice. Then one day he overheard his dad introducing him to someone. "This is my son Roy," he said. "I don't think he's ever lied to me." Roy was stunned. He knew he wasn't perfect, but hearing how much his father trusted him changed something inside of him. From that day forward, Roy worked hard to be worthy of that trust. Through these experiences, Roy was becoming the kind of man everyone could trust. As a young man, he left sunny California and headed to the Gulf States Mission, where he spent 2 years riding bicycles, knocking on doors, and talking to anyone willing to listen. And trust me, in the summer heat of the South, that was no small excitement. One day in Memphis, Roy and his companion met an older woman named Sister Pettit. At first, she wasn't sure she wanted to talk to them, but something told her to hear them out. She invited them onto a porch, listened to their message, and accepted a copy of the Book of Mormon. Over time, she continued learning and eventually decided she wanted to be baptized. The church building in Memphis had an old baptismal tank in the basement that the missionaries had to fill themselves, so Roy grabbed a garden hose and got to work. That evening, Sister Pettit was baptized, and Roy had the opportunity to perform the baptism, the very first one of his mission. Out of all the miles he rode and all the doors he knocked on, it's a memory he'll never forget, because sometimes the biggest moments start with a simple conversation on a front porch. When reflecting back on his mission, Roy said this: "One of the greatest experiences of my life was to be able to go on a mission. Mom prepared me by teaching me in Sunday school and also by example. She got me up for seminary for 4 years. Her efforts in teaching and making sure her children knew the gospel cannot be told. I'm sure Dad and Mom felt many of their prayers were answered when I left for a mission. The first 3 months of my mission were the toughest of my life, as far as trying to do what's right. I think that I asked myself, why am I here, hundreds of times during those first few months. I felt like a well-trained horse running the track because that's what he's bred for and not because he wanted to. The Ashby family was, and I'm sure still is, one of the most respected and admired families ever to have lived in Bellflower. The point that I want to make is that Mom and Dad prayed with their children almost daily. They taught us that prayers are said to be answered. I prayed and studied until I knew why I was on a mission. Following Mom and Dad's example of prayer blessed me by the Creator of this world with a feeling deep within me that our church is true. To this day, I still have a feeling deep within me that says under no condition should I ever consider denying the testimony I have of the gospel, Christ, or the church." Every great story needs a love interest. Fortunately for Roy, along came Mary. This young man met a wonderful young woman who would change the course of his life forever. And let's be honest, Mary must have seen something special in him. Maybe it was his smile, his work ethic, or maybe she just had a soft spot for guys who survived stepping on rusty nails. Whatever it was, the two of them quickly discovered and made a pretty great team. They built a life together filled with faith, family, hard work, and plenty of laughter. Over the years, they would welcome children, grandchildren, and eventually great-grandchildren into their family. They would face challenges, celebrate victories, travel together, and create countless memories. Through it all, one thing never changed. Roy loved Mary, and Mary loved Roy. Every great love story deserves to be told by the people who lived it. Let's hear Roy and Mary share, in their own words, the story of how it all began.
I was dating somebody else. And we went to a dance to decorate, and he was there, and a bunch of the girls that were there decided to go to the beach the next day, but we didn't have anybody to take us, so he volunteered. I don't know how long he'd been home, but he'd already been on his mission. And so he picked me up, and we went to the beach, and then months later, we went to a young adult up at the, what do you call it?
Idlewild.
Yeah, at a camp, like at a weekend seminar thing. And I went with another girl, and he was there, and I kept asking him if he was going to go to the fireside. Come to the fireside next Sunday. He's supposed to be a good speaker. And we get to the fireside, and the speaker's him. He was showing his mission pictures. Months later, phone rang, and I answered it, and this person said, "Hi, Mary." I said, "Hi." He said, "How you doing?" "Okay." "How's Buddy?" "What? Who's Buddy?" Well, my dad went by Bud, so I thought he was asking about my dad. But he had a friend named Buddy who had a sister named Mary, and he was supposed to call Buddy's sister Mary and ask her to go on a double date with him and somebody else. So I met him 3 times before he finally got the message.
My version. I've been off my mission about 2 or 3 weeks and went to young women's preparation for a dance. And some guy walks into the preparation hall, carrying a cute little girl in his arms all the way across the hall. And I said, "She's a cute girl." And at the dance, the guy liked to dance the fast dances and not slow ones. So I was standing around on the slow dances, and Mary was standing next to me, and we were talking at the dance. At Idlewild, yeah, she was there. There was a dance at Idlewild for the young men, young women. And I went outside, and Mary was out there with her friend on a swing. So I got to push her. And she asked if I'd go to the fireside. And yes, I did take them to the beach. I had about 4 or 5 girls in the car to the beach. But only me. And Mom had some pretty legs. But I did make a list of girls I wanted to date before I got married or find out about. And instead of putting new girls on the top of the list, I just kind of put them on the bottom. And it took a while to get down to where Mary was.
Now, you might not picture Roy as a poet, but Mary really brought it out of him. Let's listen to a poem Roy wrote for Mary, read by Mary herself.
When I was very young, I fell in love. Hard times in Nam and dreaming of love. Working through school with 2 kids in arms. Struggling each day to put bread on the table. Raising our children with challenges and grief. Coming home at night for sweet arms and loving. Looking into the eyes of our children and see what you've made. Hard roads, difficult times, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying. Years of love, days of sadness, beautiful memories of being together. Going to church each week and thanking God for this great life. The children are grown, their visits seem fewer each year. Now we're aging, only you and me. Life is wonderful. To be with you makes life wonderful. Life is great. To say goodnight with warm hugs and kisses, I think of the past and future. Until we die and step into eternity with your hand in mine, I'll say, I'd do it all over again with you.
Up to this point, we've talked about Roy the mischievous kid and the young man who loved Mary. But in 1969, life got a bit more serious. Just 4 months after Roy and Mary were married, Uncle Sam came calling. The Vietnam War was at its height, and Roy was drafted into the United States Army. He kissed Mary goodbye, not knowing when, or even if, they would see each other again. After basic training at Fort Ord and helicopter mechanic school in Virginia, Roy received orders for Vietnam. He was assigned to a helicopter unit near Phan Bien, where his job was to keep the aircraft, airmen who depended on them, ready to fly. At first, Roy worked on helicopters every day. As his skills improved, he knew he would eventually be sent on combat missions as a door gunner. Then, when his company needed someone who could type, Roy raised his hand. That simple decision moved him from the flight line to the company orderly room. For the next 13 months, Roy served his country in Vietnam. He prepared awards and commendations for soldiers returning from combat, worked alongside men he deeply respected, and witnessed both the courage and imperfections of war. Life in Vietnam wasn't easy. Roy spent 13 months far from home, working long days and missing the person he loved most. But during his tour, the Army offered something called R&R, rest and recuperation. Now, if you're wondering where Roy chose to spend that precious time away from war, the answer is easy. Mary. The destination just happened to be Hawaii. After months apart, Roy and Mary were reunited in paradise. For a little while, there were no helicopters, no army orders, and no war. Just a young Haugen in life enjoying time together.
First comes love, then comes merit, then comes a baby and a baby carrots.
Before long, Teresa was born, the firstborn, the child who made Roy marry parents, and the first of 5 children who would forever change their lives. For Roy, becoming a father was one of life's greatest blessings. And for Teresa, it meant having a front row seat to the man we know as Dad, Grandpa, and now Great-Grandpa. Let's hear what Teresa has to say about her father.
One of the things I admire most about Dad is how he lives his life of service. He wakes up every day looking for ways to serve Mom. He schedules his days around service opportunities. He serves neighbors who need help with big and little projects. He has helped each of us kids with home renovations and countless other things. He won't plan a trip just to visit. He wants a list of projects to work on. He uses his woodworking and handyman skills to help whoever he can, however he can. He volunteers to teach middle school shop kids how to turn wood. He's built hundreds of Habitat playhouses and toy cars for kids. He sewed hundreds of baby burp cloths for the hospital. He is always trying to help someone, and there's no way I could list all the people he's blessed. He will tell you when he's working on something, it's work, it's not fun. But I think Dad gets great joy and satisfaction from finishing projects and helping others. He's a great example of serving others. It's how he shows us that he loves us. Thanks, Dad, for blessing all of us by serving us.
Next came Tammy. Now, Roy and Mary had 2 little girls, and life got a whole lot busier. Tammy brought plenty of energy, laughter, and adventures to the Ashby family. Over the years, she became a daughter Roy was incredibly proud of, and someone who helped fill the family with love, traditions, and memories. Let's hear from Tammy.
Dad loves a project. For as long as I can remember, Dad has loved fixing things, building things, and especially helping other people with their projects. Even at 80 years old, his confidence in his abilities and his desire to help are still going strong. My family has benefited so much from his knowledge, skills, and willingness to help, and we aren't the only ones. Over the years, I've heard from people at church, friends, and family. They tell me about projects Dad has done for them, installing ceiling fans, helping with bathroom remodels, fixing things around their house, building a backdrop, or solving some problem they didn't know how to solve themselves. They talk about how great he is and how he thought of ways to improve their project and how awesome the project turned out. And they always mention that he wouldn't let them pay him. Dad always says if they don't pay him, there's no expectation of perfection. But people are always grateful for his time, his effort, and enjoy the quality of his work. He truly loves to help and serve. Someday in heaven, because I am going there, I'm going to find whoever is in charge of counting things and ask how many hours Dad spent helping people with projects. I don't have any idea what the number will be, but I know it will be a lot and probably heavily weighted in my favor. More importantly, though, I think the number of hours he has spent doing projects for other people will tell the story of how many people Dad has loved, served, and lifted along the way. Years ago, our house flooded and we had to move out while repairs were being done. It was a very stressful time for me. Dad came over every day to help me. We tiled my bathroom, installed kitchen cabinets, hung drywall, and tackled project after project together. During all those hours together, he talked to me and he told me over and over that everything would be okay. His skills and hard work were so helpful and appreciated, but his reassurance and love were and still are the most precious things he did for me. While Dad is so good at so many things, when it comes to painting, he's not very enthusiastic. In fact, there's a spot in my bedroom next to some trim that nobody would ever notice except for me. Dad tried to cut in the paint there and he did not do a very good job. But I left it exactly as it was because every time I see it, I'm reminded that he cared enough to try, that he wanted to help, and that he loves me. One of the things that has always amazed me about Dad is the way he solves problems. There have been countless times when I've watched him do something and thought, I would have never thought to have done it that way. One time, he was removing a piece of trim. The way he used a hammer and a scrap piece of wood to get exactly the leverage he needed completely blew my mind. I remember saying, Dad, you're so smart. He just laughed. I think he's been doing projects for so long that things like that are simply second nature to him. The other thing about Dad is that he doesn't really like to work alone. He likes company. He likes helpers. There have been plenty of days when my job was to simply follow him around, hand him tools, bring him snacks, and clean up after him. Looking back, I think that's just one of the reasons Dad loves projects so much. The project is important, but it also gives him a reason to spend time with people. Some of my favorite memories with Dad aren't of what we built or fixed. They're of being together while we were building and fixing those things. But if you're going to ask for his help, you better have a plan. More than once, he's told me, figure it out and then I'll come help you do it. And he's still doing it. Thanks, Dad, for all the time and effort you've put into projects for all of us. Thanks for sharing your skills and your talents. Thanks for teaching us how to do hard things, how to solve problems, and how to use both our brains and our hands. But most of all, thank you for what those projects really meant. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for serving. Thank you for spending time with us. And thank you for showing us how much you love us through your love of a good project. Happy birthday. I love you.
Then came Ben, 2 girls and then finally a little boy. Over the years, Ben and Roy have shared a lot of experiences together, and if there's one thing we've learned from Roy's stories, it's that he always had a way of making memories that last in a lifetime. Let's hear some of Ben's favorite memories with his dad.
As a toddler, all the way up until a teenager, of roughhousing and or wrestling with Dad in the living room. I remember him always pinning me and blowing raspberries on my neck until I felt like I was going to pee my pants. And I remember laughing with him a lot about when we were wrestling and having a fun time together. I remember Dad making orange Julius with orange juice concentrate and ice cream. It was the best thing ever. I remember us as a family saying prayer before we went to work together. Every time we left the house as a family together, we would always say prayer, or if he was leaving, we would gather together and say prayer. But we would say prayers before we left for church, at meals, and at night, before we went to bed as a family. I remember him building a tree house at the Valley Roadhouse in Oakview. I remember him going up in a tree and building an area that we were able to hang out up on. There were pieces of plywood and he made some railing after a while. Remember there wasn't any railing for some time, but I remember he made some railing. He made it safe enough for us to be up there. I remember him always hugging us and loving on us. I remember him teaching me how to use an axe and not to hit my leg or my feet. And I remember going family camping in Wheeler's Gorge. And it raining so hard that everyone got wet, and we left everything, went home to sleep, and we went back and packed things up later. The best things I can remember are seeing Dad give Mom a flower from the garden, from the flower garden. They always had a flower garden out in front. I remember doing work with Dad, and whether it was fence posts or working on rental houses or working on the house itself, but he would always, somewhere hidden, he would always write "I love Mary" on some wood pieces and on the project. And so sometime in the future someone would probably find those and find I Love Mary and probably wonder who it was that loved Mary, and it was Dad. It was Dad that loved her. I've ever seen Dad love each of us 5 kids. I remember Dad always serving our families. His service is like an expression of love. I love Dad. I love that he loves his family and wants to be around them. Happy 80th birthday, Dad. I hope this reaches you well. Hopefully the family is all around you when you're hearing this. And we want you to know how much we love you and how many good memories and wonderful things you've done for us. And you've been a wonderful example of a father. And it's big shoes to fill for those of us that still have kids and are working on families. And we have many years left, and we hope to be able to celebrate many more years with you and many more birthdays. We love you, Dad. I love you. Thank you for always loving us and being there.
Next came Amy. When it comes to her dad, she's been paying attention for a very long time. As Roy celebrates his 80th birthday, Amy decided to look back and remember some of the moments, lessons, adventures, and memories they've shared together. So sit back and enjoy as Amy shares 80 memories of her dad.
Happy birthday, Dad. I love you so much. Here are 80 memories I have had with you. Driving to the dump in the trailer. Showing off homemade dresses and having us twirl. Mrs. Doubtfire movie instead of going to the school dance. Using saws and drill press in the garage. Camping at Wheeler's Gorge. Ice cream every night. Coming over on his lunch break to hold my babies. Lots of silly skits. Reading the funnies. Doing puzzles. Paying for lunches. Trip to the Grand Canyon. Almost got hit by lightning. Homemade ice cream. Carving pumpkins. Geocaching. Wrestling. Getting thrown in the pool. Learning stick and the Z. Little Bunny Foo-Foo. 7-Up when sick. Early Christmas mornings. Love of chocolate. Nap times. Backyard fire pit. Loves all babies. Baptisms. Painting rentals. Loves mom. Ziplining in Colorado. Money jar. Yosemite. Rubber band guns. Nauvoo trip. Well done meat. Family prayers. House projects. Murphy bed. River bottom. Ireland. Wood cars. Jet ski. Flying kites. Fall leaves. Baby blessings. Getting tucked into bed. Thank you for coming to our family. When boys were boys and girls were girls. Painting my bike. Eating at Sizzler. Doing dishes. Helping others. Gave money to a homeless man on the Seaward off-ramp. Kansas 4th of July's. Brooks rocking horse. Kelsey's doll cradle. Cutting down Christmas trees. Putting the angel on top. Visiting his office with mom. Build my bird aviary. Burp cloths for babies. Sacrament trays. Button-up shirts. Whiskers. Sawdust. Life is good. Good at math. 10 million people in New York. Only time and money. Be on time. George. Gorilla suit. Pocket knives. Flying model planes. Hidden notes. Habitat houses. Scared at night. Go to Dad. Thrifty's ice cream. There was a little finger. Live what you know. And heaven is a happy place. You are the best. I'm so glad you're my dad. Happy birthday.
And finally, along came Emily, the youngest of the 5 Ashby children. Roy called her the girl with many talents, and from the beginning, she kept life interesting. By the time Emily arrived, Roy and Mary had already learned a lot about raising children, but every child is different, and Emily brought her own gifts, personality, and adventures to the family. Let's hear Emily share about her dad.
Hi, Dad. Happy birthday. You have been my dad for 42 years, and that's a long time to put up with my shenanigans. I am so grateful for the unending kindness and love to me and my family. There's never been a day in my life where I doubted your love. Maybe your patience with me, but never your love. From a small child to today, you have shown your love through time, words, service, gifts, and always a hug and a kiss. I don't know if Mom needed a break from me as a kid, and that's how I ended up joining you in the garage, working on projects, or on the roof hammering shingles, or at Boy Scouts with you. But you always made me feel wanted. And I also ended up learning that I can do or fix or make whatever I want from spending that time with you. You told me you loved me every day growing up, and you still tell me every time I see you. You said it when I was a bratty teenager, and now as an adult, when I still don't do the things you want me to do, I still hear I love you. I also have stacks of printed letters from over the years from you, full of words from your heart. You taught me it's okay to love big and be a little mushy about it too. You have given up your time, money, and energy to serve my interests and needs my whole life. I know that if I need anything fixed or torn down or put back up, I can call you and you'd be ready to start before I could finish my planning. I know being the youngest came with some perks and pretty epic gifts. My piano was your idea. I'm forever grateful for it. It still gets used every single day. Your big, shaky hugs that I loved are now enjoyed by my little girl, and it is so fun for me to see how it must have looked when you hugged me as a 6-year-old too. You show up for me in all the ways only the best dad can, and I'm the luckiest girl to have grown up with you as my dad. I love you.
Over the years, Roy and Mary raised 5 wonderful children, and before long, those 5 children started families of their own. The Ashby family tree kept growing. Birthdays were celebrated, vacations were taken, traditions were created, stories were told, and somewhere along the way, Roy traded the title of Dad for one of his favorite titles, Grandpa. Now, if you've met the Ashby grandkids, you know they've inherited a little bit of everything from Grandpa Roy. His sense of humor, his work ethic, his love of family, and maybe even his talent for falling asleep in unusual places. But rather than hear that from a gorilla, let's hear it from the grandkids themselves.
Hi, Grandpa. Happy birthday. Thanks for being such an awesome grandpa. I was thinking about how we made those cement circles with our handprints in them and how that was so cool. Thanks for that and so many other experiences working with and learning from you. We love you.
Hey Grandpa, happy 48th birthday. I appreciate all the time that you've spent with us. It's been great living so close to you and having you around in our lives. I know a lot of people don't have that with their grandparents, and it's something I've always appreciated about you and Grandma both. Working on my house as well, I know Jesse is going to speak or has spoken about that, depending on where I'm placed in this video. Chronologically, I'm not sure where my location is, but whether she has spoken about it or will speak about it, she also spoke about you helping at her house. I really appreciate helping in my house. It really made it into my home, and I love all the special touches that we were able to make together. And my phone regularly gives me reminders of old photos that I'm able to look back on, and pretty frequently they're pictures of me in your garage messing with cars or little wooden toys, and it's just been great. The family only exists because of you, but you're a huge asset to the family. We love you. I love you. We're happy that you're around and so present in our lives. Everything.
Hi, Grandpa. Happy birthday. Just wanted to share a quick thing. Recently, I've been telling Charlie a lot of stories. And I remember you would always tell us stories when you start out when a long time ago when boys were boys and girls were girls and cows were cows and pigs were pigs and all that fun stuff. And we've been doing that with Charlie. And he loves it. And it makes us think of you every time. Love you.
Hi Grandpa, I'm so thankful to live close to you. I remember doing lots of projects from making a leprechaun trap in kindergarten to hand sanitizer stands during COVID, and more recently working on our condo and our house, which includes everything from flooring to cabinets and nearly everything in between. I am thankful to have a grandpa who has spent many, many hours watching me dance, who will sit next to me at church, and who will tackle any project with me, and I will always remember that 8 million people in New York don't care.
Hi Grandpa, happy birthday. In my mind, you can fix anything or you can build anything, and I think that's super awesome. And I really look up to you for that sort of thing. Love you so much. Happy birthday.
Hi Grandpa, happy 80th birthday. I love you and feel so grateful I get to be your granddaughter, and life is good.
Hi, Grandpa. Happy 80th birthday. I love making projects with you, and I love your creativity, and I love your hugs.
Hi, Grandpa. Hey, it's Jake. Just letting you know things are going pretty good in San Francisco, and yeah, I'm excited to come back to Ventura and visit all you guys. Yeah, eat lots of chocolate cake for me on your birthday. Love you, Grandpa.
Hi, Grandpa. How's it going? Happy birthday. Congrats on 80 years. So grateful for you. So happy to be here. And I'll see you soon.
Hi, Grandpa. Happy birthday. You're the best grandpa ever. Thank you for passing down your sweet tooth to me, and we all love you.
Hi, Grandpa. Happy 80th birthday. I'm so grateful for you and I love you so much. I love being able to chat and laugh with you.
Hi, Grandpa. Thank you so much for letting me and my friends always use the pool and always having projects for me to do. Happy birthday.
Hey Grandpa, happy birthday. I hope you have a good day. I really like working on stuff in the garage with you. I really like making stuff for my mom with you. You always have great ideas. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Hi, Grandpa. I love you. Happy birthday. I'm so glad that we got to hang out earlier for my birthday, and I'm so happy that we were able to do projects like putting new floors in the bathroom, and I'm so glad that you were able to teach me how to use work tools, and thank you so much. I love you.
Happy birthday, Grandpa! Thank you all for I can swimming in a pool and have cool birthdays at your place. Thank you and happy birthday.
Hi, Grandpa. I love it that you give me hugs and wiggles.
Show me how he does it. What does he do? Yeah?
And then came an entirely new title, Great Grandpa. What started with Roy and Mary then grew to 5 children and a whole bunch of grandkids, and now has grown into a new generation. Lucy, Mary, Ruby, Charlie, Henry, and Otto. 6 little reminders that the Ashby family story is still being written. And if history tells us anything, these kids are going to have plenty of stories of their own someday. Well, we've come to the end of our story, at least for now. We've traveled from Bellflower to Vietnam, from missionary to husband, from dad to grandpa, and even great-grandpa. We've heard stories of vast powers sleeping in impossible places, family adventures, and a love story that has lasted a lifetime. But if there's one thing we've learned, it's that your life isn't measured by the places you've been or the things you built. It's measured by the people you've loved. And by that measure, Roy has lived a remarkable life. Because of him, there's a family that laughs together, serves together, travels together, and loves one another. So on behalf of your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, friends, and everyone whose life you've touched, thank you for your example, for your kindness, for your faith, and for your love. Happy 80th birthday. I'll try to stop by sometime soon. We all love you.
Thanks everyone for being here today to celebrate Dad. We hope you enjoyed the trip down memory lane and all the memories that we shared. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break, so now's the time to use the restroom, stretch your legs, or just chat with our family. Be sure to come back when the countdown ends. We've got a couple of fun games coming up, including some Dad trivia and a photo reveal challenge. See you in 10 minutes.
My Grammy thinks that I should be a star. Plays all of my CDs in a car. Telling all her friends my latest plan. That's cause Grammy, she's my biggest fan. My Grammy brags about me at her church. It's always been this way ever since birth. She goes to every Sunday service wearing all my merch. Cause Grammy knows how hard I work. She don't really drink, but that don't mean she ain't alright. If you think you got, then check her cartwheels at the high. She makes 81 look 18. Cause you know my Grammy, she the queen. From New York to Miami, she's my mother flipping Grammy. with the nails too. Cause that's my Grammy, she legit. When she's driving home, she's calling up the local station, requesting AJ Smith, pretending that we're not related. Singing all the words, even the ones she thinks are trouble. And swagger in her slippers, that's a flipping Grammy shuffle. We're dancing in the kitchen to Sinatra, and we cook a little opera. She my girl, I need her, my pequeña abuelita. She says she prays for energy, she'll make it past the century. To send me headline MSG, my Grammy thinks that I'm a star. Believe me with all the golden heart, and I hope one day we'll go down that red carpet looking fancy, cause I want the world to see my OG mother flipping Grammy.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put your glad rags on, join me home. We'll have some fun when the clock strikes 1. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
I look and stare so deep in your eyes. I touch on you more and more every time. When you leave, I'm begging you not to go. Call your name 2-3 times in a row. Such a funny thing for me to try to explain. How I'm feeling and my pride is the one to blame. Yeah, cause I know I don't understand just how your love can do it, no one else can. See, I'll leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it
I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome to Ashby Family Trivia. This is how you play. Think real fast, shout out your answer, have lots of fun, and that's it. True or false? Grandpa loves ice cream. True. Grandpa had ice cream with us after dinner every single night. Multiple choice. What is Grandpa's favorite flavor of ice cream? A, vanilla. B, Rocky Road. C, strawberry. D, cookies and cream. B, Rocky Road, but he likes all ice cream. True or false? Grandpa wants a dog. False. Grandpa likes dogs, but he does not want one. Multiple choice. When he was a kid, Grandpa's family had a dog. What was that dog's name? A, Rex. B, Duke. C, Spot. D, Buddy. C, Spot. True or false? Grandpa's first bicycle was brand new. False. Grandpa's first bike was his big brother Don's old bike. Multiple choice. What part was missing on Grandpa's first bike? A. Pedals. B. Brakes. C. Seat. D. Tires. C. The seat. Grandpa said, I couldn't sit on the seat and touch the pedals. Dad took the seat off. This left a bar that didn't feel very good while I pedaled. I tied an old rag on that bar and it worked as a seat. That was my first bike. True or false? Grandpa is really good at math. That's true. Grandpa can multiply big numbers in his head. Grandpa, quick! Tell everyone what 648 times 965 equals. True or false? Grandpa has a twin sister. True. Multiple choice. What is Grandpa's twin sister's name? A. Susan. B. Elizabeth. C. Jane. D. Ruth. D. Ruth. This is Ruth and Grandpa. They don't look alike at all. True or false? Grandpa went to college at BYU. False. Grandpa went to college at CSU Fullerton, but he has had 4 grandkids graduate from BYU. This is Grandpa's graduation in December of 1973. True or false? Grandpa learned to drive in a Tesla. False. Grandpa learned to drive on a 1949 Chevy. True or false? Grandpa loves doing puzzles. That's true. Grandpa even entered a puzzle competition one time with Amy, Tammy, and Cody. That's us, getting ready to puzzle. Multiple choice. What drink did Grandpa give his kids when they were sick? A. Milk. B. Apple juice. C. Coke. D. 7-Up. D. 7-Up. Multiple choice. What happened to Grandpa when he jumped off a dock at the beach? A. He got stung by a jellyfish. B. He stepped on a nail. C. He lost his swimsuit. Or D. He broke his arm. B. He stepped on a nail. Multiple choice. What sports car did Grandpa own? A. A Datsun 280ZX. B. An Audi Quattro. C. A Porsche 911 Carrera. D. Alfa Romeo GTV6. Grandpa had a Datsun 280ZX. We all called it the Z. Multiple choice. Where was Grandpa's favorite family vacation? A. Disneyland. B. Zion National Park. C. Grand Canyon. D. World's Fair in Canada. The World's Fair in Canada was Grandpa's favorite. This is how Grandma and Grandpa remember our trip to the World's Fair in Canada.
I think going to World's Fair 1984 was a fun trip.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yep, Em got to go to that one.
On a doggy leash.
We took a leash. I was so afraid we would lose her.
Yeah.
I said, I cannot lose this baby.
Yeah.
This is a picture where you can see Emily wearing her leash. Multiple choice. Grandpa loves Grandma. What did he notice about her when they went to the beach for the first time? A. Her gorgeous eyes. B. Her flowing hair. C. Her pretty legs. Or D. Her beautiful smile. C. Her pretty legs. This is Grandma on the beach in Hawaii. Happy birthday, Grandpa. We love you. Now it's time for our photo reveal challenge. Same rules. Think fast. When you figure it out, shout out who you think it is. Have fun!